Now, happy birthday. Hello.
Hello.
Happy birthday.
Huh?
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Dan Carlson, one half of Two Cat Men,
I'm John Cadolf. I'm the other half of two old men.
and we watched the pilot episode of Creepshow
Yes, we did.
for Shudder Club.
Or Shudder Club.
Two stories, Gray Matter and The House of the Head.
Oh, I thought it was House of the Dead.
No, House of the Head.
Oh, House of the Head.
Play on Head of the House.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what you thought.
All right. Well, Gray Matter was the
Based on a Stephen King story.
yeah. It was based on a Stephen King story. It was a story of a boy and his father who drank lots of this very specific beer.
I felt like it was a really cheap beer.
Yeah, like really cheap beer.
Yeah.
And somehow this kid was allowed to buy cases of it and take it home to his father.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until later. Yeah, go to the store and
Right,
give me some beer.
with the sheriff right there.
Yeah.
And so he kind of comes into this supermarket, or maybe like a little town grocery store, and or general store or something like that, and they're gearing up for a big storm. Pretty much everything is sold out, and the kid was kind of freaking out, and he asked if they had this beer, and they said yeah, and he said he didn't ever want to go back to where his father was. And the sheriff and the other guy were like, well, you know what, you just stay here, we'll take your dad the beer.
Sheriff is
So
played by Tobin Bell from Saw.
from The Saw.
From that movie, The Saw.
And so they take off, and in the meantime, the lady that runs the general store starts asking him questions, and then they kind of flash back into what he's been experiencing over the years, and that, or over the year, I guess. And what that is him delivering this beer to his father, and his father drinking it and starting to kind of transform a little bit. And well, a lot. Yeah. Yeah. And they figure it's only going to just be a few weeks or something like that before this creature is able to replicate and take over everything.
Basically, John Carpenter's The Thing, but it's hiding in this cheap beer.
Yeah. And so the end of the world.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's the story. And let's talk a little bit about
You said you were underwhelmed.
I was underwhelmed. I thought that okay, so of course there is a crypt keeper type skeleton dude that,
And he looks really cool. To me, anyway.
okay. He's a puppet. So you don't expect it to be very realistic, and it really wasn't. You could tell it definitely was a puppet, but they didn't utilize him properly. He didn't talk. He didn't, he just like did weird things.
The one in the first movie didn't talk, but the one in the second movie talked as an animated character.
Yeah.
I think they might have been worried that if they had him talk in this, it would have been so similar to Tales from the Crypt that it would have been basically just been that show.
Yeah.
Because Tales from the Crypt was based on, Creepshow was based on, inspired by Tales from the Crypt. And then Tales from the Crypt came out and kind of made Creepshow less its own, feel like less of its own thing, because it's basically the same setup.
Yeah. But so the crypt keeper looked like, the puppet was okay. Very underwhelming.
He just made noises. He didn't talk.
Yeah, which I could have done with or without. I mean, but they didn't
But
really.
you got to have him because it's the
They
creep
got to
show.
have him, but.
But what about the second story, the House of the Head?
Well, okay, so it ends. Wait,
well,
the first one ends with the Crypt dude just like drinking one of those beers. And
yes.
that's the end of that. So, all right, next one, House of the Head. This
House
one,
of the Head.
The story I thought was pretty damn good. Little girl gets this huge dollhouse.
Yes.
And she's, being very careful about how she furnishes it and the story behind who's there, why they're there, what part they play in their family and stuff like that. There's the father, mother, there's the little girl and their dog. And then the next night, she's looking around in there and they all moved. They not right in front of her eyes, but they were in different places and they all looked concerned. And so she looks over and she sees this head, like a rotting head sitting, in the house. And she's like, what are you doing here? I didn't put you there.
Yep.
And as the story progresses, pretty quickly, actually, the people in the house, every time she looks, are in different positions. They're scared. They're
stages of alarm.
Right. Different states of alarm. And then,
so she decides to go buy a priest doll, which is supposed to do some sort of exorcism of the house.
Yeah, but they didn't have a priest.
They didn't have one, so they gave her a Native American doll.
So the Native American doll. No. First, she goes and buys a cop.
Okay.
She goes and buys the cop, and the cop goes up into the attic and is investigating. And she looks away to tell the father what he's investigating. He guesses rats, and she's like, "Oh yeah, rats." And then looks back, and the cop is gone. And so she looks down the stairs, and there's the cop's body with the head torn off and a pool of blood. And she's like, ah. So then she has to go, what is happening?
I noticed that as I move my head, the camera does an artificial move.
It's probably very distracting. I know it was for me. Well, anyway, so then she goes and gets the Native American. The Native American goes in, and then he's like hanging out the window, and she goes, "Oh, you think he's outside?" And she goes around to the other side, and his hands and his head are torn off. And she freaks out. What?
Yeah, it doesn't really. The thing is, it's got a great setup, but it doesn't really go anywhere.
They didn't really need a whole lot of effects. I thought that.
I feel like they could have. I feel like the punchline to that felt like it should have been, they find a head in the house. Like, those are hints maybe that there was a murder in the house, is what I thought originally what that was about.
Yeah. Well, I thought that they could have taken it a step further, and once she pulled the head out of the house, it all started over again, but in real life. I thought at that point then they see weird stuff going on in the house, and then they call the cops, and then the cop gets killed. And
yeah,
and then the little girl could have ended up with the rotting head on her.
Another thing that this is missing, and I know that they have to film episodes and budget's probably lower and there's not as much time, but the movie had all these bright colors. Like when people screamed, you saw like the background turn red with lightning bolts and stuff.
Yeah, like a comic book.
Like a comic book. And then here, the only thing they really do about like that is they'll take a shot and then they'll move it over to the side like it's a panel with maybe some Comic Sans in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very underwhelming first episode.
Yeah, I felt so. Not that I individually hated the stories. I thought the first one is actually really good. I just wish it wouldn't have been so dark because it just looked like every other horror movie.
Yeah, I mean they both were nifty. They were nifty,
and it was, and if you already subscribe to Shudder, it's free, so
might as well watch it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'll come right out and say, I say that you should press play because it's a series and it can only get better, right?
I didn't think it was terrible.
I didn't think it was terrible. It was just very underwhelming. I'm hoping to
Yeah.
get blown away by the next one.
I hope
So
so.
that's why I say press play because it was nifty and it was worth watching. It's not one of those things that I would say don't bother because there's a lot more to come, and we
Mm.
might be pleasantly surprised next week, saying that hey, holy shit, my eyes bled when I watched that. So this is what do you say?
Ah, very reluctant press play.
Yeah.
Um,
See, okay, let me revise mine a bit. I
mhm.
say press play for the series. I say if you're into hokey niftiness horror, then press play on the episode. Otherwise, skip this episode and wait for next week.
I was actually disappointed that it wasn't more hokey and more nifty.
Well,
Um,
yeah, if it had been more hokey and more nifty, it would have been better.
yeah.
But it
I,
was only hokey
I,
and
I
nifty.
wanted it to fully embrace the fact that it was supposed to be a comic book, and
Yeah,
it really kind of just used that as like a little tiny wraparound thing to make Twilight Zone type episodes.
yeah.
Um, but it was okay. I mean, it was
So
worth press play, but maybe do other things while you're watching it.
yeah. So this has been the Two Kept Men birthday spectacular.
Yeah.
I'm 48 years old as of today, folks.
Yep. I was
So
48 a few weeks ago.
so I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do this. Of course, I'm kidding. In the next couple of months, you will see a change of venue. I won't give any details on that, but you will not see all of this behind me anymore after mid-November. In fact, I might even have to take a hiatus for a couple of weeks towards the end of November. But hopefully not. Maybe we can do this from my cell phone or something.
So is this our season finale then? And that's going to be our.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. We got a few weeks left. We've got like 4 or 5 weeks left.
So 4 or 5 more episodes in the season.
Yeah, and then we will end the season. We'll do a
Mhm.
Christmas. We'll definitely do a
We,
Halloween episode.
we plan some Halloween episode, and then there will be a Christmas episode,
A Christmas special,
Christmas special, holiday special.
a holiday special.
Yes, and then probably a New Year's special and a Boxing Day special.
Sure, why not? We have to have a Winter Wonderland special,
Mm-hmm.
like with snow and stuff. Like we should film an episode outside in the snow.
Oh, okay. Well, so just set a desk up out there.
Let's. I got it. Let's review The Thing
Oh,
out in a
let's
snowdrift.
let's play the Thing board game outside during a snowstorm.
Yeah, and let's watch The Thing on a pop-up drive-in theater screen outside
You have a projector
in the
screen.
snow. Hmm.
Okay, well, those all sound like great ideas. I don't know how many of them we'll actually do, but
Right.